All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Warrior Mindset and Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, retired Army Sergeant First Class Eric Castillo. I'm also a life coach at Zimi Wellness Center in Indigenous Sovereignty. Today, got another Marine. I've been on like this Marine kick lately, where I've had like Marine after Marine after Marine. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with these Marines. Maybe the Marines just got something to say. I'm not sure, but I always like having Marines because they're a special kind of group of people. They are. I love them. So his name's Matt Jimenez. He was in the Marines, and he does stuff on Instagram, and that's how I came across him, was Instagram. And he does some pretty good stuff. He does funny stuff. He does some pretty raw stuff, some pretty real stuff. Even pulls on heartstrings from time to time. And I felt that it was, just to have him come on here and share his story. And he's got a couple of things he's going to share with you as he tells his stories and things that he's got going on. And he's someone that you should check out and follow. And if you want to follow him, his some of his tags are in the description. So yeah, Matt, go ahead, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man, and what you've been up to. And
thank you so much, Eric. First off, I have to say it's such a corny thing to say, but right off the bat, I'm super excited to be here. I love doing podcasts, mainly because Marines love to hear themselves speak. So I think it's we like to do it in front of a camera too, so we can see if there's still crayons in our teeth.
Well, I didn't see any, so you're good.
All right, good. Yeah, so I'm 32 years old. I am a father of 5, and I always say those things first too, because I like to reference that, because for the people who are listening and not watching, a lot of times they think I look younger. But yeah, I'm an 80s baby, and I grew up in the 90s in sunny Southern California. But I'm sorry to all my country boys. I am from California, but I did also grow up in Nebraska. So we did all the mudding and skeet shooting and all that fun stuff too. I grew up in kind of like a military family, right? So my uncle, Vietnam, 0311 rifleman. My cousin, also Marine. My other cousin, Navy. My great-grandfather, 11 Bravo, World War II in the Army. He just passed 2 weeks ago. And he passed away in his sleep. It's a great thing to see somebody live that kind of life. And all of those inspired me to join the Marine Corps. But what really got me to actually join the Marine Corps was I was homeless. I spent about a year out on the streets. We're talking about one McChicken and maybe a large French fry somehow if I could get one. So I ended up joining the Marine Corps about $1.19. And of course, I joined as an 0311 rifleman because I had no idea there were other jobs in the Marine Corps. Like, I called the recruiter and he's like, what were you thinking about doing? I was like, I want the gun and the shooting thing. That's what you guys do. He's like, yeah, that's what we do. And of course, this is during Iraq and Afghanistan, 2007. Mm-hmm. So it's like I rolled right into the Marine Corps as a feisty little $1.20 Hispanic who wanted to get out there and get some. And I did. I did. Unfortunately for my mental health, but fortunately for my life, I think it was the best decision. I think it was the best decision and the worst decision I could ever make at that time, because I threw myself into it not knowing I had a baby on the way. Right. Not knowing I had, I was the guy who got the girl pregnant right before he went to boot camp.
Oh,
I'm that guy. You're the guy you meet right after boot camp who says, oh, by the way, I'm having a baby. Yeah. Time went on. I did 3 deployments overseas, and I did every type of deployment you can do. I did a humanitarian deployment. I did a booze cruise where we just floated around the ocean. And then I did a combat deployment, which is one of the more famous combat deployments recently, for bad reasons. And I was a part of that one too, which we can talk about. And that's the sweet and short bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So when you would join, where did they send you off to? I know that Marines usually do the boot camp in 2 places. It's either down at Pendleton or Paris Island. Where'd you go?
I'm from Southern California, so I went to boot camp right here in San Diego, very lucky. And then when they told me I was going to be stationed in North Carolina, I said, Sergeant, where's North Carolina? He said, shut the and yeah, and I ended up serving on the East Coast in Camp June for 4 years.
That's the same like me too. I'm from LA, and I joined and I did my basic training in Oklahoma,
right,
Fort Sill. where I didn't think it was possible to see every season in one day. Like I was 17 years old, freaked the hell out because it rained, it snowed, tornado warning, and then it got to like 90 degrees. I was like, what the hell is happening? I thought it was the apocalypse or something. You know, like all the guys from LA, we all rushed under a stairwell, and then we were getting yelled at because we didn't come out the stairwell because it was freaking raining and it was like tornado sirens and crap. So it was like, what the heck?
Yeah, I had no idea what humidity was. I think I got to the airport at 5 a.m. in July, and I said, why is it wet? Why do I feel like I'm covered in butter? They're like, Jimenez, that's humidity. I was like, puberty? What'd you say? Humidity, dumbass.
Yeah, the humidity is something else there, especially on the East Coast. It gets so, because I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, my first duty station, and it's just like, it's stupid humid over there. And it's just like, geez, you know, and like at first I was like, I would complain about the heat, but like after like deployment after deployment after deployment, the heat really didn't bother me no more. I actually ended up liking the heat, and I prefer to be hot now versus cold, you know, just
really.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we would talk about this like in the field all the time. And I mean, and people know, like, you know, when you're in the field and you do training, you have unique conversations there in the field, where conversations that only happen in the field. Like, we argued about hot versus cold for about 2 hours about what was better and why. And then after that, somehow we argued about chocolate for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like light versus dark chocolate. I don't know. It was just people were going back and forth. And it was just my squad. It was just 9 of us. And we were just going back forward. And then someone walks up from the other section, like, hey, what about Belgian chocolate? And we all stopped. And well, that was a whole nother 45 minutes about Belgian chocolate. You know, so it's like
I should have joined the Army, because all we did in the Marines is just go in the tent and get naked together and do weird stuff. It's, man, I knew I should have joined the Army.
Yeah, like, and I mean, the Army has its pros and its cons too. You know, like with my job being a field artilleryman, like when we weren't doing our job, we were just doing like, I call it busy work. You know, like in 2000, when stuff was a little more like stricter and harder, we had to like rake the dirt. It was interesting. We were Fort Bragg. We had to rake the grass dirt, because it was like a mixture of grass and dirt. But we had to put lines in the dirt on the ground, then go to formation and stand on those lines. And then once formation and close of business was done, go rake and put lines on the ground again.
That's nice to know, because now I know that the guys who trained me, it was you guys. It was you guys. That's good. Yes. Now I know why they're so angry when I got there around 07. Yeah.
Yes. So, and it was things like that. Like, it's raining outside, you know, or it's snow, but you're going to sweep. Like, it's like, but it's snowing. No, you're going to get the snow off the ground. It's freaking snowing. It's in Germany and it's snowing, but we're going to shovel snow while it's snowing. And it's like, come on, man. Like, seriously.
I try and tell like young people, they ask me, you know, because my social media platforms, I like to try and talk to as many people as possible. And I try and make sure that the romanticization that Hollywood has instilled in the military doesn't get funneled through to their soft, jelly-like minds, to where they think they're going to look like Mark Wahlberg and they're going to be fighting 300 Taliban on a hillside. And I say, no, you're going to get beer bottles thrown behind you as you're doing a police call, and you have to start all over and pick those up too. And they're like, what is that? I was like, well, you're going to have fun learning.
Oh yeah, like there's a whole bunch of stuff. That's the stuff that's never talked about. But I was lucky. My recruiter was actually honest, which I know is a rarity. He told me, because I told him I want to be artillery, and he was like, well, you know, it's a fun job. He's like, but it's redundant and it's boring, and you're gonna go to the field a lot. He's like, it's in the name of your job, field artillery. You're gonna train. He's like, but when you're not training, you're gonna do stupid shit. You're going to do things that don't make sense, and you're going to wonder why, but you're just going to do them.
Yeah. My recruiter said something like that. He said, it's the best job you're ever going to have that you never want to do again.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and it's like, and it cracks me up too, because when people say that they were just this, and when they get out that the jobs don't transfer over, you know, like for skills, it actually does, you know, so like that. And that's another stigma I try to break too, because look, I'm an artillery guy. Yeah, there's no artillery in the civilian sector, but I'm working at Intel Corporation that builds the computer chips. Like, I have zero skills, but they hire veterans. Like, I didn't have none of their skills that they were looking for. But the skills that you get in the military they're one of a kind. You learn how
Yeah.
to lead. You're responsible for people. Your time management, project management, presentations, all the Microsoft Office stuff, Adobe, like counseling people. Like there's a whole bunch of skills as long as you translate it the right way. And
Right.
your resume can look legit. Yeah, you don't got the school to back it up, but that's when you find that one hiring manager who's willing to take a chance on someone, like how they did with me. They took a chance with me. Like I told the guy, I was like, well, I don't have none of your skills up here for like engineering degrees and things or anything else. I go, you want me to make someone disappear? I could do that. If
Yeah.
you need like security protection, I can do that too. I was like, I'm good at those things. But this
Yeah.
here, I was like, no, I'm not about this. And this was at a job fair on post in Hawaii. And he's like, all right, that's cool, Sarn. Just give me your resume. And I was like, oh, okay, here. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
he took it, and then the rest was history. And I'm employed there now for now until I get my nonprofit up and running, and then I'm gonna try to do that full time. But
Nonprofit.
yeah, I have a nonprofit with my fiance. It's called Task Force Lighthouse.
Okay.
And what we do is she's a energy healer. She works on body and emotion code, and what she does is she helps release imbalances and stuff in the body to kind of like things that are like trapped emotions, things that you carry, things that you were born with. Like while you were in the womb with your mom, you inherit those things. So what she does is she uses energy flow and intuition and things and releases that stuff. And I'll tell you, Matt, that stuff is legit. Like I did it, and I won't say it helped my PTSD a lot.
Yeah.
Like when I did a session with her, and she's also a certified sound bowl therapist, like with the big old brass Tibetan sound bowls.
Yeah.
She's one of the few that are certified here in the Pacific Northwest, and that's a combination of that and what she does is incredible. And then so what we offer is while she does that with a veteran, I coach them on transition. Like depending on what I see they need, it's either going to be life purpose, happiness, goal setting, transformation. Maybe you just need like a reboot, and we'll do that. And I'll get you rebooted and reset and send you back out to society, and it's of no charge because it's a nonprofit. So we bank on donations and things like that. And, we just started it up. So like I got a Facebook page out there. I got a Instagram. So we're starting to get that up and going, so that's kind of like a little bit about what I got going on the side. But
I love it.
Oh, thanks, dude. And it's like she has a veteran clients that she helps, before even started. Like she doesn't charge veterans because especially combat ones, because they've seen stuff, done stuff. And sometimes again, you can go through the counseling in the schools, but there's just some things that a person can't really fix on the outside. And it's something that on the inside that has to be released and let go energetically and spiritually too. And you can feel the difference when it's done, because then you'll feel like different. You'll feel like, wow, I feel a little bit lighter. I feel a little more inspirational. I feel more motivated to do stuff. And it's not like once it's gone, it's gone. Like it'll go, but then, something can happen and it'll come back, and it just in a different form. Or maybe it was just some of it, but there's just still some more that isn't ready to be let go yet. And that's the same thing like with my case. Like I still have stuff that's there that just doesn't pop up to her like when she does it. Like, so it's basically what comes up, and then she's like, all right, time to let this one go. And it's kind of like if you were to do it, you would be talking like this virtual because of COVID. You would be talking to her and she'd be working on you while you're talking, whatever you're talking about, a sport, or just like, it's almost like an indirect counseling session, but not so much, because it's more just like it helps her narrow down stuff as while you're talking to get stuff out. And it's really neat, like and that's kind of the stuff we do. But I know as you were talking about your deployments, I want to hear about your humanitarian and your booze cruise. I want to hear about those, like, because I did a humanitarian mission also. And that one was kind of, I won't say it was really humanitarian, but we went to Hungary and we trained the Free Iraqi Forces at the time. It was like a whole bunch of them, and everyone has specific jobs. And then I trained them in marksmanship and hand-to-hand combat. And then I jacked up my wrist during one of the things, so I had to wear a brace. But that was my little humanitarian type thing. But for you, what was yours?
We were lucky enough to do a MEU, and I thought, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought I was going to go somewhere and do something. And for those listening who do not know what a MEU is, it stands for Marine Expeditionary Unit. Basically, a battalion of Marines. I was with 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. It's about 2,000 or 3,000 guys, gets put on multiple ships with the Navy, and we float around the ocean and kind of have to just do what the Navy doesn't want to do, and then stop at liberal ports, get drunk enough to not have to think about the things you have to do for the Navy when you get back on ship. For instance, I was in a trash room for about 6 months, and I had to take all the plastic, compress it down, put it in discs, and then throw it off the side of the ship. And that's what I did for about 6 or 7 months. And I thought, this isn't what I signed up for as an infantryman. So we get back from that deployment, and I'm thinking, all right, fine. Maybe the next one will be what I signed up for. And unfortunately, it was. About a month later, Haiti happened. And if those who aren't listening don't remember Haiti in 2010, there was an earthquake that unfortunately took the lives of 200,000 Haitians. And when I say took the lives of 200,000, you have to do a multiplication of the other people who are most likely wounded. So there's probably at least 1 million wounded to go along with that 200,000 who were killed in the initial earthquakes. Then President Barack Obama sent us, even though we had just been back from our MU. And the way a MU works is there's a period of time to where you're responsible for anything that happens in the world within 72 hours. The Marines can be sent anywhere in the world without the approval of Congress. So for some reason, if war broke out in North Korea and South Korea, then President Barack Obama could have sent us to help defend South Korea with zero notice. You're going to Korea to fight in the next World War. That didn't happen. What did happen was we were still within that last period of time to where we could be emergency redeployed, and we were, and it was to Haiti. And I tell people, even with all the combat which we saw on our combat deployment in Afghanistan in 2011, Haiti was actually the hardest deployment I ever went on, because there's no credit in the Marine Corps infantry for something that doesn't have to do with combat. So you don't get to be a combat veteran, which is the thing that's held with reverence in the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps, if you haven't been shot at, you're not a man. And I'll say that again. If you haven't been shot at, you're not a man in the Marine Corps infantry. And a lot of people who have been there will say, I hate it, and it's true. It doesn't matter how many deployments you've been on. It doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter if you know the max effective range of an M16 A4 and a point in area target, or M203, or the kill radius of a grenade. It doesn't matter. If you haven't been shot at, you're not a real Marine. So when they sent us to Haiti, you weren't shot at. You just had to deal with wounded and dying people, or people who had unfortunately passed already. And we're talking 1 million plus and 200,000 bodies. Yeah. And I was 20. I think I was about 20 years old at the time. And I had just been put in charge of my first fire team. And instead of leading them and doing contact front or buddy rushing or clearing a room or teaching my point man how to keep his rifle up, I was telling them, are you okay? After they just carried a dying child. And
yeah, that's a whole different toll than combat. Like, I mean, right. Yeah, you could, that's maybe in the beginning of the war. Yeah. But like on like natural disaster, and you're carrying civilians where there's like no combat, I can't imagine the mental toll that takes. Like, it's crazy.
That's the problem, is that you didn't get to have a mental toll. There was zero respect for anything that we were doing because we weren't in combat. So the whole culture was, shut up, this isn't even combat. That was the whole culture of that deployment. And when I came home, you guys have cherries and boots in the Army, right? Mm-hmm. Like somebody who's like fresh or hasn't really done anything or who's new.
Yeah.
We have just boot. Like, you're just called a boot. But a boot is like the equivalent of, I'm attempting to disrespect you. I'm not saying it as a joke or in passing. If I say I'm going to curse, I hate cursing, but if you're a fucking boot, it's just pretty much saying you're nothing. So when I came home from that deployment, I was still considered a boot, even though I was a team leader, even though I'd been in for 2 years and done technically 2 deployments and saw a lot of horrible things that I didn't even see in actual combat zone in comparison. When I talk to a therapist now, unfortunately, my post-traumatic stress disorder, which I was diagnosed with, is actually more based on Haiti rather than combat. It's more based on wounded children or dying children.
Yeah, no, I can see why, especially during that whole thing. Like, I mean, I know I've was in some pretty hairy situations in combat deployments. I didn't have any of those like how you did. I think one of the things that because I didn't really see a lot of dead bodies a lot. I think the one that we saw was like an accident that happened. It was my last tour in 2014, and it was an accident, and it was a pretty bad one. Nothing bad, but we were coming back and we stopped to help, and there was dead mom, dead kid, injured guy had like his bone sticking out, and that's when we learned like they were doing, and the men aren't allowed to touch the women,
Yeah.
at all, and I had to tell my guy. I knew that because I was on my sixth deployment already, so I already knew that. But like they were gonna go help, and I was like, no. I was like, we need to stand back, and they need to tell us what to do. Um, they need to tell us what we need because we're facilitating them. And
Right.
you see like the women because they had the long burkas, so the women were carrying them, and then I helped the guy with his leg, and then one of my other soldiers helped move the kid because the kid was a boy. So it was a lot of stuff, but like to compare it to like Haiti, oh, that was you, dude. That's some stuff right there. Like it's whew.
Everyone has their own weight in their own pack. So when I
Yeah.
try and compare my things, it's always to empower other
Hmm.
people, and that's why I always start off the statement with "unfortunately," so I
Hmm.
don't validate it to seem like I am more of a man because of it. Because I don't think seeing trauma is what made me a man uh,
Hmm.
whatsoever, or being shot at. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, I was shot at a lot too.
Yeah. Me too. But it's like I see it like when I look back at it now, and when you think about it, you learn a lot about yourself as a person and what
Yeah,
you're capable of, you know.
yeah,
And I learned what I'm able to take, what I'm able to withstand. And when you
mhm,
take all of that, and now when you go to getting out of the military,
yeah,
something happens there, and for me it was like almost it felt like a strip of identity basically because I got out. My mind wasn't really it was a medical retirement, but it was kind of hairy because I was not in a good marriage, and I ended up having an affair with another service member because I just wasn't happy.
yeah,
Was that the right choice? No. I can say that, and if people judge me, that's fine. I don't care. But it was a mistake. I made it. It is what it is. But I was on the process of getting administratively separated after 17 and a half years.
yeah,
But and as I go through with counseling and stuff, it was because of me not being able to talk to my ex-wife, of just
yeah,
being unable to share and talk. So I found someone who did. And unfortunately, that happens. It's not the right answer, but it happens.
yeah,
So then, as I was going through that process, I was kind of like, like shooting myself in the foot like crazy, just like all this bad stuff. So now I'm carrying that.
yeah.
Then after that, I find out that I have type 1 diabetes,
Oh wow.
where I have to give insulin and check my blood sugars every 5 minutes, no family history, nothing, and PTSD. So now that switched from administrative separation to medical retirement,
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, so now I got to deal with all this stuff. So for a long time, I felt like that was a punishment.
yeah,
Like, okay, you know what? You had an outstanding service record. You were never in trouble. You made one mistake. So I'm going to give you this. So that way you're at least compensated for everything you did,
right.
And when I got out, it felt like my whole identity was just stripped. Like I didn't know because I joined at 17 years old. I was a kid.
Yeah,
So I've been on my own since 17. So now here I am, 35 years old, on my own. Like what the heck, like didn't
right.
know what was going on at all. So like, and that's where I went through a hard time of like suicide attempts, and I got arrested because of my ex-wife, and I battled that whole process, and it was just it was a crazy dark couple of years after I got out. So for
Yeah.
you, like after you going through Haiti and all the stuff in Afghanistan that you went through, how was your transition? Like how was it? Was it good? Was it kind of like was it kind of smooth, rough? So let the people watching kind of what was yours like?
I think that there's a common mistake with the average 21, 22-year-old person who's getting out of the military, because that's the age that you are getting out. You're a veteran, at 21, 22 years old, typically, majority of the people who join the military get out after 4 years, and then they're a veteran. So now they've had two titles. They were a Marine, a soldier, an airman, a sailor, and now they're a veteran. And you're issued two titles by the age of 22. And I don't think a lot of people really take that into consideration, that you have these things that you can choose to hold on to and give a part of your identity to, or you can attempt to say, I got out for a reason. And that reason is because maybe I didn't want to stay in because I had a tough enlistment. So for example, I'll tell you, Eric, that I had a really tough enlistment, and not just with combat as a rifleman in the Marine Corps, not just with humanitarian aid. I have a court-martial.
Oh, wow.
Battalion NJP. I had to run away from the military for 28 days to see my daughter born because they wouldn't let me. And I lost a lot because of that. And then I was accused falsely of hazing. And I had to take a court-martial saying I verbally harassed a junior Marine, that I cursed at him. So I got court-martialed for it. Wow. And then, you know, I got out after the 4 years, even though I wanted to do the full 20. I was that motivated guy who did well in boot camp. So when you get out, you get to say, am I a Marine? Am I a veteran? Or do I want to try and put those things down and be the best civilian I could possibly be to prove, in spite of my differences with the Marine Corps, I'm a real man? And you can fool yourself by thinking that you need to validate yourself even more. After you did all of these things, you're a father, you're a combat veteran, you have your humanitarian award, you're a man in society's eyes, right? You're what you signed up to be. You'll still fool yourself into thinking, I need to be more. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. It can be a good thing because you might actually achieve more.
Yeah.
Or it can be a bad thing because you might not. And then 4 years later, you're saying, I've been out for 4 years and I'm working construction, and I didn't plan on working construction. That's all I could do, unfortunately. It was horrible for me, even though I did everything right. I went to college. I got the bachelor's degree. I had more kids. I lived a good life. I provided for my family. I took care of my family, and I became a welder. I started welding on the oil rigs. After that, I put myself through college. After that, I got a job as a regional manager with an actual corporation, the world's leading franchise at the time too.
Nice.
And I still wasn't happy because all I saw was that I was going to have to work for somebody else the rest of my life, just like I was in the Marine Corps. So to answer the question, it was horrible because I forced myself to try and be better, but not to be happy.
Right. And that happens, you know, like that's kind of, I picked up on that realization when COVID happened. You know, when you're in the military, there's always someone working for someone, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you don't really think about working for yourself, really. And if you look at the stats for entrepreneurship, it's a large chunk of it is veterans, you know, because they have the skills and the drive to actually do it. And for me, I realized that I wanted to work for myself was when COVID happened, because I work at Intel down here in Oregon, and I work in the fabrication shop, helping make the computer chips and things like that. That's what I do. And it's not a bad job, great benefits. You know, it's a great company, super veteran oriented and pro veteran like no other. So it's like, I'm not complaining about the company. What got me is when COVID happened, they let all the engineers go home, but not the people who were working that can actually do the same job from home. Right. So because I didn't have an engineer title, I couldn't work from home.
Right.
And that's when it got me. And I was like, what the, seriously? It's like, everything I'm doing here, I can do from home. And I've been trying to, and I've still been told no. And it's like, so now it's like, because being diabetic, I have to spend days at home sometimes, because sometimes I can't go to work. So it's like, if you guys would just let me work remotely, I can do all this stuff from here, especially if I have days where I'm kind of struggling. And that's when I realized that, like, I don't want to work for nobody else, because all these engineers and everybody in the executive corporate, they're all at home.
Right.
But all of the other people, the busy bees, are in the fab, are working and doing things in the factory. And it's like, no more. Like, so it's like, I haven't quit yet, because unfortunately I have to pay child support and alimony. So there's that. Right. But once my stuff gets going up and I make more than what I need to make, then I'm gonna be done because I
Right.
want to work for myself. Like I want to be able to wake up in the morning and go, I don't feel like doing anything today. I ain't gonna do nothing because I don't have to.
Yeah.
Like and do that. So but for your transition, man, like what I'm grateful for is like you're still like here, and and that's a hard thing to do. And the hardest thing for veterans is to ask for help. That's the hardest thing
Right.
for us to do, because and people say, well, how? And I say, well, because in the Army or in the military, you have someone to go to. You have your
Right.
leader, you have your superior. Like for me, I was in E7, I was a sergeant first class. I had my platoons and my buddy, my battle buddy, which was my platoon sergeant, my smoke man, and I was a gunny, or I had the first sergeant. I had those people to go to. When you get out, who do you have to go to? Especially if you
Right.
join young, you don't have no one to go to. I can't pick up the phone and be like, oh, hey, first sergeant, by the way, I have a question. No, there's no first sergeant because they're still active and they're still dealing with active duty soldiers. Yeah, I'm
Right.
sure they take the time to talk to me. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like now you start going into that self-sabotage, like, well, I'm not going to bother no one with my problems. I don't want to be a hassle. I don't want to be a burden. And that's when the isolation happens. And it's so easy to fall on that point because I did it. And
Right.
I think you did too, right? For a little bit, because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think about 7 years, I never once spoke about the military. And if I was around another veteran, I would just lie and not lie, but not say, "Oh yeah, I was into." I would just not ever bring it up at all.
Right. No, yeah. And that's the shame and the guilt. That's also part of it. Like and going to school, like I learn all this stuff and that's why I try to at least get, veterans to come on here and talk and share and just so you can see like, hey, look, we went through some pretty rough times, but yet we're still here.
Right.
We were able to turn it around somehow because all you gotta do is pick up the phone. And I know that's hard for people to hear. And it's like it took me a hard look to ask for help. And that's one of the things that veterans do need to know is someone will talk. You got your buddies who got out. And it's like I like to keep my circle small. I don't know about you, like with people I could talk to. Like there's acquaintances, yeah, sure, but then there's that inner circle where that person will drop everything in a handbasket to help you.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean? Like I
Mhm.
can count those jokers on one hand. Where yeah, there's
Right.
other people I can talk to loosely, sure about whatever, but like and you have that, but you have to be able to realize that you have it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part and a lot of it is ego. Ego ego is a damaging thing because it's like, oh well, I don't need this, I don't need that. But yeah, you do. You just
Right.
have to freaking get over your damn ego and ask for help and that's what I did. And now, I mean, yeah, I got my days and my moments. Like I know one time I was driving. It was about a few weeks ago. I don't know what happened, but like I got this thing where I rolled. It was like 40 degrees outside. And, you've been in a gunner's hatch before in a turn in the vehicle
Mhm.
driving. So I
Mhm.
rolled all the windows down, turned on some music, some rock and roll music, and just drove. Dude, I felt like I was in a freaking turret all the
Right.
way 40 minutes back home. I was just driving like no other. I walk in the door, my fiance is like, "What's wrong with your face?" And I told her, and she was like, "Oh my goodness." So like I had to tell her, and then she
Yeah.
sat down and she talked to me and she worked with me too to kind of get me out of that mode.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
it just popped in there and it just happened, and but being able to talk about it is what's key. So
I
as
agree.
as I switch gears, unless you have anything to comment on that for anything real quick.
No, I love it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. So like for you, I see your Instagram and stuff. So how did that come up? What was the motivation and drive for that? Because you got a lot of people over here writing on the comments I see. Most of them are on the YouTube watching. You may know some of these people, you may not. You got there's a lot of people. Yeah, there's just a lot of people writing on there. And you'll see them if you look on the YouTube, but people are they're writing about lawnmowers and whatever else they're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but what was your drive for your Instagram like? Well, what was the reason for you to do that, or the inspiration, and then to kind of see, because I see like you do funny military ones too, which are kind of
Yeah.
funny. And I think you said you had a TikTok, then you got banned, and I don't know if you're back. But
Yeah, I have a TikTok. I'm having trouble posting on it right now. I still have it and everything too. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so what was
Um,
the drive behind it, man?
I was working with that company as the regional manager, and unfortunately for me, my ambition outweighed my aspirations with the company. So I volunteered to do every single thing. And since we didn't have anyone who wanted to do social media, I just started volunteering to do the social media for all 14 of these franchise businesses up and down the the West Coast, just teaching them how to do it. And at the time, I didn't even have my own social media. And then finally, when I was leaving the company, they're like, "You're funny. You should start your own. You should start your own." I started an Instagram account just for the gag of it back in 2017.
Yeah.
And it never really went anywhere because it wasn't me. It wasn't authentic, really. I was just trying to post things that I thought might make people laugh, nothing to do with the military at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think I might have posted one picture, and I remember someone commented who was a service member as well. He's like, "I thought you were just some clown. I had no idea you were actually a Marine." I was like, and I talked to my mentor about it. My mentor is like, "Yeah, man, perception's king. If you want to be the clown, you're going to be the clown. If you want to be the entertainer, you can be the entertainer who teaches." I worked for him for a couple of years, and I left to start my own business, which was social media, teaching entrepreneurs and small business owners how to use social media to acquire business locally or online. And this new platform popped up called TikTok, and I said, "Hey, it's a new platform. You can get viral very easy. That's how new platforms are. They want you to get followers." And he's my old boss says, "Prove it." So I posted, and that was 7 months ago. And now I think that account has 1.2 million followers.
Jeez.
And the only reason it has that many followers, I say that account, not my account, because I don't like to think that I have followers. I think the account has people who follow it because they're my friends. That account has a lot of followers because it's the real me, without any ego. I'd like to think, hopefully, right? Without any falsehoods, without any hangups, without any projecting on anybody. We don't do religion. We don't do politics. I just tell people what happened and why I think it's important that mental health is taught at an early age, so young men like me have a better chance later on for our grandchildren and great grandchildren. Yeah.
Nice. That's legit, man. And that's, I always like to hear why people do stuff, because it's like it's motivational and inspirational, because everyone has a why. What's their why? What's your why for doing stuff? And I was talking with a guy, and he's going through a tough time, and he's like, his why is, he's like, he doesn't have it anymore because it was his kids, and now his kids are grown. And I was like, well, no, you have a why. We just need to find it now. You just have to have a different why now, because if not, you'd be dead. Because if you don't have a why, that means you're dead. I mean, obviously you're not dead, so we just need to look a little harder to find you your why. Now you have to have a different why you do stuff. And I was kind of working with him through that. So it's like, I see your why is for what you had just said, and I think that's awesome, and it's super cool that you started doing that. And I like some of your things that you do, man. They're pretty funny. They're pretty good.
I appreciate you. I try really hard to make sure that I was a personal trainer before. While I was in the fitness industry, I worked for Anytime Fitness. That was the franchise I had worked for. I was a personal trainer because no matter what your job is in a gym, you should probably understand how the equipment works and be certified.
Yeah.
So even though I was more in sales, I was still a trainer. And I think a lot of that applies to what I do in social media, because my rule of thumb whenever I was training was, I'm either going to make you laugh or make you cry at least one time in our relationship. So we have that kind of connection. So I can coach you. So I can teach you the things I need you to learn so you can have success without me. So with my social media, I apply the same thing. Every video is, I'm going to make you laugh or I'm going to make you cry. And maybe not cry or really laugh per se, but at least breathe out your nose or think, hey, I connected with that. I understand that a little bit,
Right. And as if you see, that's a skill and a characteristic acquired in the military, because in order for you to connect with your subordinates, you have to build a bond with them.
Right.
And it's neat how you build that into social media. Like for me, I try to when I work with someone, I try to build the cohesion first, and that was my rule. Is if there's no cohesion, with your person you're working with or with the group, nothing else is going to happen. They'll respect is indirect. It'll be there, but it'll be like a sort of a sarcastic respect. But if you have cohesion and you can build a cohesive team with who you're working with, you'll get respect. They'll want to work for you instead of having to work for you, because there's a difference. You can see the product where if you're working with someone who wants to work with you and work for you versus someone who has to, you can see the quality of the product that's there. So, and like for you, that's kind of what you do. You try to at least hook someone who watches, and I think that's awesome, and it's neat to see, because I've seen some of yours where I was just sitting there, I was like, this dude pulling on heartstrings. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So I'll sit there and I'll be like, oh, damn it, And then some other times I'll just be cracking up, like where I think that one latest one you just did, you said the PTSDs. That had me rolling. I was sitting there and I was like, what the hell did he just say? Like, I was cracking up.
I wanted to show the disconnect that senior leadership can actually have with what's going on. So to refer to PTSD as PTSDs, you got them PTSDs, huh? I like to think that I was a huge fan of literature as a kid. Like, well, I wouldn't say a huge fan. My father, I hope he sees this, is an intelligent sociopath who loved to make sure that I was more intelligent than I should be, or at least more well-read at my age. So I wanted to be a writer, and I'm not right now. I'm trying to, but I think we talked about I'm writing a book right now. I like to think that when I'm posting these videos, you can live vicariously through me if the content is articulated enough. That it's not like, oh, I like Matt's content. It's like, no, I connected with that even though I wasn't in the military.
Yeah. And that's a hard bridge to try to build too, because like the military community gets it, Right. So trying to reach it to like non-military people is like, and that's a skill in itself.
Some of my biggest haters, I have three types of vets who watch me. There's the type of vet when they're watching me, they think that I want attention for the trauma. And there's that guy, that guy, and the listeners, if they don't know that guy, there are those types of people that we serve with that they're not cool people. They just got in, they didn't do that well. They were we called them, the dirt bags of the bunch for lack of swearing. And they get out, and what they like to do is tear other service members down so they feel better about their service. And there's that percentage that exists. And those are my biggest haters on social media, is this guy just wants attention. And it's a sad thing to see, because when they say that, all I hear is what their father said to them as a child.
Yeah. And that's a shame too. It's like, I had like, and it's one of those things, the bigger you get, you'll be loved, but there's always going to be haters too. Like, I actually had my first one, and I thought it was kind of cool. But he just started saying some crazy stuff, and I was like, dude, why? Like, I have nothing to lie about. Like, because I know in the Army they award Bronze Stars basically, like now, to like anyone who's like E7 and above. But at that time, I got mine as an E6. Which was hard to get. And my other battle buddy, we got it also. Yeah. And when you read the award, it says for exceptional meritorious service. But when you read the narrative that was written, right, the word heroism is in there a few times. So when I did a podcast with someone a while ago, he highlighted that word instead of the others. So then I started getting messages from him. He's like, heroism? What are you talking about? And I was like, dude, okay, first of all, I never said that. And, when you talk about heroism doesn't mean running through a stream of bullets, that's like people have this disconnected idea of what a hero is, right? And
the Hollywood fantasy it's about.
That Hollywood fantasy of a hero. And really, that's not what it is. Like, heroic acts doesn't necessarily have to be anything where you're on the verge of death. It's just, and he started like messaging me. I was like, dude, I helped you with something when we were in, like, you punk, man. Like, why would you even, like, and then it's just hating.
Yeah,
like you're saying.
I think you can tell a lot about a man's insecurity by the way he approaches confrontation. So
Mhm.
when I talk to young people, I always tell them, remember, your fight or flight mechanism reflects your IQ and your insecurities and nothing more. The way you choose to get aggressive or fearful about something reflects the fact that you don't want to approach confrontation. It doesn't make you more of a man by bucking up on somebody. If you're able to take a step back and calm yourself, that shows how much of a man you are. So I get guys like that who will approach me like that, and I just say, let's take a step back, and we don't have to get so angry to be right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's perfect. Like I just didn't engage with it. I just like, I didn't even really, because when it comes to something like that, you're gonna keep fueling a fire that doesn't need to be fueled. Because they're not gonna want to hear, because they're right in their mind, and there's nothing you can tell them unless they have a decent head on their shoulders where they're like, you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
That's that much,
Yeah.
So, but most of the time you're gonna be, it's like you going to in front of a wall and you're trying to tell the wall you're not a wall.
Right.
So
yeah, and I get those. That's why it's the same thing. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of people who support me by being my friend online, and they see the way I respond to comments. I get some really hateful comments. I get some comments that make you think, what did Matt do to this guy in particular to where he's going to respond something like that? And then they see what I respond, and what I just respond is usually, I forgive you. Because the minute I forgive you, it's not that I forgive you for what you did. I forgive you for attempting to offend me. That way you don't actually have to offend me. That way I don't have to carry you around with me the rest of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I never thought of it that way, man. That's pretty dope. I mean, because I know, like, I'm almost through that part where I'm more of the, fight or flight, where it's like, it's not necessarily a run or a fight. It's more of a, oh, you got something to say? Okay, I got something to say too, and being as an E7, as a platoon sergeant, it's like, you're not going to friggin' talk to me crazy, like.
Right. Did you know that humans actually typically respond almost 3 times as fast in conversation than they're expected to by the person they're speaking to? Mm-hmm. I had no idea. So now when people get confrontational with me, I will literally sit there and I won't stare at them because I don't want to attempt to try and provoke more confrontation. I'll just say, give me a second here. Let me think about what you're saying. That way I don't respond in a heightened state. And then they're just like, what are you doing? Like they want that argument, and it doesn't happen, and then they get even madder a lot of the time.
Right. So as we're coming here, we're gonna do our little closing, and then there's a bunch of people writing, and I'll say some of their names because there's most of them are on the YouTube. A lot of people who support you, and I'll throw some of their names out there.
You got a lot of fans, man.
Yeah, so like they're on there writing.
50.
But for you, what's something that you would tell the veteran community? If you can say one thing, like if they're not listening and they're just kind of being stubborn, but they're still watching, and it's more like hey, I need your attention right now because what I'm about to say is important. What would it be?
Remember that you have a chance to be the version of yourself that the people who don't like you and don't care about you wouldn't care to see. So if you are able to learn as much about yourself, you would give yourself the actual chance to be the person that the people who don't like you and don't care about you wouldn't want to see. If you take a chance and learn about your own mental health and learn about these things that can empower you or these things that can dissuade power, you can be the better version of yourself. And it's not the way that a lot of people who do conferences and entrepreneurs want to teach you and make you feel good and give you that rah kind of conversation. But if you actually take a step back and educate yourself about who you are, you'll have a better chance at raising the children who could be better than you from the get-go. And that's what I try and do with my platform, is if I could have one wish 20 years from now, it would be that I would be part of the reason why mental health classes are taught in school, that we have a mental education course the same way we have a physical education course. It's insane to me that we have PE, but our children are not taught about what's going on in their brain. So for everyone who's listening to me right now, remember, your mental health comes in a spectrum, and you are part of the reason why it's good or bad.
That's legit perfect. Like, I love hearing what people have to say at the end of my podcast, because I love hearing the unique spin that people put on the one message that they want for people. And it's all beautiful. I love it all. Like, you could hear like from different aspects and different things, and it's like it all, and everything is just the way it cultivates show after show. And like yours was like perfect. Like, there's nothing to even add on to it. Like, it's just right there. It's just boop, done. Nothing to elaborate on, nothing to highlight, because you said enough, man. Like, that was perfect in its own.
I appreciate you.
No worries, dude. And for those people who are watching, this is I stream this on Facebook, same name, Warrior Mindset and Motivation. It's also on Anchor, all the podcast places, basically. Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I just recently got accepted to Pandora, so I'm on there too.
Good for you.
So that's cool. So you can hear who I talk with. You can download your favorite streams. You can send me a like, a follow, a subscriber, whatever you want to do. These are done every week with different veterans, people like Matt. You know, for those people who are just watching today, I had Jessica Lynch come on, the POW from back in the day.
Oh, wow.
She came on.
Wow.
So I was able to get her. If you've seen the show Quantico, the guy Ryan Booth, his name is Jake McLaughlin. He came on my podcast. He was on he was in the surge in Iraq.
Okay.
So I had him come on too, and him and I talk on a regular basis. He's a really cool dude, actually, and he just got picked up for another show. So I haven't heard from him lately because he's busy as hell right now. The veteran rapper Soldier Hard, Jeff.
I think I know him. Yeah.
He came on here, and I had him come on. So it's like I try to get people to come on, you know, in all different lights. I got entrepreneurs, my best friend. I got Purple Heart recipients. You know, I almost had a Medal of Honor recipient come on, but he said no. So there was that, and I try to get people to come on that'll bring value. Not saying that no one doesn't have value. It's just I need what I'm looking for is what fits and what applies. And I have a list, and you know, I got my list for the week, and you just became part of the show, man. So now you're there in the archives, and people can watch you whenever now.
I appreciate the opportunity. I try to make sure that I'm always interviewing for the chance to be on again.
Yeah, sure, of course. And like I do that. Like especially if something happens or if I'm in a pinch, like I do, like my best friend, he's one of my go-tos for he actually did one with me a couple weeks ago because the person I had was in a pinch and I didn't have anyone, and I double booked somebody by accident. So he came on in a pinch, and we talked about anger. And why it is, you know, what's it for, the drive behind it, and things like that. So it's like that was a good conversation. He's retiring from the military. He was in E8. He was a first sergeant. He's retiring, and he's actually on terminal leave now. So he's not actually in no more, but he's still in. I call terminal leave that grace period is if you do something stupid, the Army will bring your ass back and get you in trouble. So that's what that is. So he's on that part, and he should be swinging up here in June. But yeah, like if you ever want to do something else, man, like anything specific maybe you want to talk about, or like something you feel that needs to hit a little home, we can do that. You just send me a message, and then we'll do it. We'll throw it up there on a day. I try to do mine on Thursdays because Thursdays is my easiest day. Because I work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, every other Wednesday. So Thursdays is like a prime day.
I appreciate you so much. Some of the things you said to me have been things I've never actually heard another veteran say, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. When you said one of my lines here before, I know you got to go here soon, but one of my lines I try and tell young people when they want to join, especially the Marine Corps infantry or Army infantry, I say, remember, and if there's anyone listening who's watched any of my content before, they've heard me say it a million times, so they're probably rolling their eyes like old Matt here, trying to sound smart. I always tell them, getting shot at doesn't make you a man or make you a woman. It just shows what kind of man or woman you are. And that's something that you had kind of hit on earlier. And that's, you can always tell someone who's been shot at when they say something like that. It's like, oh, you've been shot at. Okay. I recognize that.
I got some little time. So I got about 5 minutes before I cut it off. But like one of the things where was I've been in multiple stare downs. barrels pointed at each other. Those are, those were pretty rough. Like I say with mine, like if I write all my stuff down on paper, you would read it and go, "Why are you still alive?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, like, because it was just when I was almost killed in the IED, and then a couple of hairy situations in Afghanistan, my first tour in 03, it's like fear left and it went out the window. And every deployment, I carried that to my people. And I even had a saying that before every time we went out, I would always say, we all come back or we all don't.
Yeah.
You know, that was the rule. That was my rule. And there was people who didn't go with me because of that rule. Like they were like, well, no, I'm not about that. I'm like, well, look at your left name tape. What the hell does it say?
Right.
You know, you don't choose. This is what it is. And they wouldn't go. And my people who were in my squad, my section, they knew and they accepted it. You know, like, and that's how it'd be. I'd be like, well, you know, this is the end of the convoy break. We all come back, and they would say, or we all don't.
Right.
You know, and that was what it was. And that's what the cohesion I was talking about that I had. You know, like that being willing to die for someone you don't know.
Right.
And then you learn to know them, and they become your brother, they become your sister through hard times. And so yeah, like that's kind of like a little bit of my little thing that where I've had my little things, you know, where it's like fear's created, you know. And I wrote a thing, I actually did a post, and maybe this is something you can even hit on later on, maybe not today, another day. But fear, if you look at the word fear, is 4 letters, FEAR. Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
You know, you create the fear in your mind, so why can't you defeat that fear if you created it to begin with?
Right.
So if you don't allow it to manifest into some big old beast, then there's no problem. And even if it does, you're the only one that can kill the beast because you created it. Right. You know? So that's my little tidbit for, you know, since you threw that on there. So I was like, well, I'm gonna add my little sugar. How's that guy go with the salt like this?
Yeah. I
do a little bit of sprinkles on there.
I love it.
But I appreciate you for coming on, man. Those who are watching, you can check out Matt on his Instagram. It's in the description of the post here. I think it's a Matt underscore all right. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's what it is. And for all of mine, I have a little link in my bio. I call it my Firebase because I'm artillery and we have Firebases. Kind of like your link tree. I use Solo, and it has all my links there to all my platforms, Instagram, YouTube, the TikToks, all the other platforms and things like that too. So give me a follow, give me a like, give me a share. Go for Matt, share and follow his stuff. I'll be posting this up on the Instagram here in a little while once I get everything uploaded. So we appreciate you, Matt, for coming on. You got a whole bunch of people over here writing, mainly on YouTube. From the names I can see, you got a Jake, Casper, Rhonda, Haley, Ashton, Herrick, Morgan, Alex. Who else is here? Travis Bennett. He told you he'd come on. Something about $40. He'd give you a back rub or something. I don't know. That's a Marine thing, probably, I guess.
Can I tell them? Can I tell them something real quick?
Yeah.
I don't appreciate you guys coming out of the basement.
Yeah, they come out the woodwork over here. Apparently, they saw you were going to be on a show, and now you got all this. Someone said, "Scratch your chin if you see this." Someone said, "Wink if you see this." Like, I'm like, well, no, he doesn't see it because only I can see the comments. Ashton told me I should join your Twitch. I don't even know what a Twitch is, but yeah. Nicole said, "Scratch your chin," and then Ashton said, "Give us a winky wonk." So this is just some of the comments. Oh, Ashton said they're running back in the basement. Apparently, you got him said, "Run back in, guys."
They're so cute. I love them so much.
So yeah, so thought I'd highlight those little comments real quick for them. I said I would, and I'm a man of my word, so I wanted to throw those names out there so they know that I read their stuff and I see them. And now they're all running back to the basement as I put my air quotes up there. So they're all saying, "Run, run, run, run."
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, the Buddy Rush. Now you see me, now you know. Yeah. Well, we see them, so now they're running. But I appreciate you for coming on, man. Everyone in the comments, thank you for watching. Tune in on Thursdays. That's when I do it. You can follow me on Instagram, or if you go to my Facebook page, Warrior Mindset and Motivation, you can watch it live there. You follow there, and you'll get the notification that I'm coming on. So thanks, everyone. Thank you for coming on, and everybody have a nice day.